Hebrew Israelites Exposed.
Actually Hebrew Israelites? Hello everyone, my name is Taharka Ade, an Africologist, scholar of Africa and the African diaspora. And many of you may have heard the claim that black people in the Americas are actually the descendants of Hebrew Israelites sold off during the Atlantic slave trade. And in many circles, that claim largely hinges on an interpretation of Deuteronomy 28:68. Here's the verse in question. In verse 68, it states, "The Lord will bring you back in ships to Egypt by a route that I promised you would never see again. And there you shall offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but there will be no buyer." And people have used this verse to come to the wildly erroneous conclusion that this must be talking about the Atlantic slave trade, and that the people who were taken weren't Africans, but they were Israelites. But that verse doesn't say that people will be taken to the Americas. It says that people will be taken back to Egypt. And not only that, it says that you will offer up yourselves as slaves, but there will be no buyer. That is the complete opposite of the Atlantic system, where Africans were very famously bought. In fact, there were mass buyers, auction markets, plantation demand, and a whole finance and shipping economy built around it. The Atlantic system pulled people from many different African societies, different languages, regions, spiritual systems, and different identities that deserve to be respected. Collapsing all of that into Hebrew Israelites and not these diverse African groups erases real African history and is quite frankly very disrespectful to the people who were enslaved. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement is an American-born movement shaped by late 19th century biblical interpretation, especially the holiness and Pentecostal church traditions. There's also Ethiopianism, a sprinkle of Black nationalism, and later Black religious currents that led to the development of what we now call the Hebrew Israelite movement. It's a modern identity movement, not a demonstrated family tree. There's no solid historical or genealogical evidence that African Americans have a direct ancestral lineage to ancient Israel via West Africa, as these claims suggest.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahawadah, Yahawashi, Bakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstone. Shalom, somebody, Akim, YAHAWAH, people who are diligently waiting to be delivered from its captivity, as well as speckled bird that may look like the other nations, but are actually Asherah. As for the Kawakam community with no lesson. Today's lesson, I want to go into this whole Africanologist, or whatever the frick he called himself. And I just hate these types of videos because it's really dishonest in their premise is just based off of, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that type of ignoring the scriptures. Okay, so basically what I mean by that is how you have this person who just absolutely cannot fathom the fact that we are Israelites, on top of the fact that he is dishonestly, picking a specific translation of the Bible, not going through the most commonly used, not even what in terms of like, and I'm not saying that the King James is like an absolute one-to-one translation, but like that's the most commonly used thing, as well as fuck it, as well as the best thing to use. I think most people acknowledge that the King James version is the best version of the Bible to use. So aside from that, and when I say most people, I say, as a matter of fact, let me just get it so I don't talk on my ass. Fuck. What? I didn't want to use that, but I guess word for word equivalence, blah blah blah. So King James, New King James is a historic masterpiece, but it's 17 a language can be difficult for things. The new NASB widely regarded by scholars as the most literal word-for-word translation in modern English, and the ESV. Okay, so yeah, but most what Bible is the most what commonly used book? Oh well, King James is top of it, is one of it. So basically, yeah, you get the point where King James is the most um used compared to all the other ones. All right. Now, to get back to the thing, there was this lesson that I did. There's this video that I did. So I want to kind of get this so you can see this. So bear with me a moment.
Honestly, there should be no more debates if black people are Jews. If you look up, there are plenty of websites with plenty of databases showing that the slaves that came off the slave ships have Hebrew names. As you can see, women and men both have Hebrew names. The Lord's name is in their name, Yah. If you look up the definition of every single one of these names, it's going to surround the Most High in some secretive message. The websites are out there, the databases are out there, the ship names are out there, the year is out there. They keep record of everything, and all those slaves that came off those ships are all Israelites with Israelite names. It's not a debate. Stop debating.
I want to give all the praise.
So yeah, you saw that, and funnily enough, I actually have the website here after I had because the brother actually went in and found it. But yeah, basically over here, all of these slaves have Hebrew names. So there's Hanya, Hanya, Yaho, Inya. Wow, that's actually a lot of Yahs in it. So that's kind of crazy. Anyway, you basically get the point where they hold Yah in the name, and they're kind of going through this whole stuff where we see that these are in fact Israelites. All right. So as a result of that, this is whom the Israelites are, where people are just disregarding this, disregarding facts, disregarding the truth. All right. So as a result of that, we're going back to Deuteronomy 28:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Basically, the thing here is the Lord's going to take us back to Egypt again, but He said that He's not going to take us onto Egypt again, as He said. Where it says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. Meaning that He's not going to take us to Egypt again. All right, but over here, Deuteronomy 5:6, I am the Lord thy power, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Basically, the thing here it says that Egypt is the house of bondage. Egypt is spiritually being referenced to as a place for captivity. That's what Egypt means. So Deuteronomy 6:12. Then beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Basically, once again, in at least two different areas, in two different places, we see that in two different places that Egypt is being referenced to as the house of bondage. Okay, and the thing here is that our slavery, our captivity, is being referenced to as Egypt. Okay, and it even goes in, and it is a lot easier to understand because we see how who went on to into slavery on ships. Okay, no one else did. No one else went through that type of stuff besides us. Okay, but yet with how convenient it is, how would they get into Egypt? How would they get into Egypt? What's the word? I'm trying to think of the terminology. Basically, you saw how Egypt, no, Slovakia, you saw how from Africa, all right, the Israelites were taken into America. It's through ships, so it doesn't get any simpler than that, all right. But yet, people, you have this Africanologist, whatever, who just wants to ignore these facts, all right. So yeah, as a result of that, this is what it actually means. This is what it actually means where we are put into captivity. All right. So next, I also want to get this in Deuteronomy 28, verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall be upon thee, and shall pursue thee. Let me start over 45. Moreover, all these curses shall be upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hast hearkened not unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever. Basically, this is supposed to be what indicates that we are the Israelites, and that's the thing. I actually did a lesson on this not too long ago. Romans chapter 8, verse 16, the Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh. Basically, the thing here is that we are the Israelites because of, oh my God, did I just close it out? Over here, because there was a thing, not by DNA, but by the prophecy. The Lord is telling us you are an Israelite based off the prophecies, prophetic things that have happened to us. It is through the Spirit that the Lord allows these things to happen to us for us to be able to say, okay, you know what, I see these are the people that are Israelites. And an example, because it's not just the so-called blacks, all right, but it's also the Hispanics, it's also the Native Americans, it's also the Ainu, just as one example. And I'm pretty sure, I think Tibetan, I just searched that up not too long ago. Because by the way, I must say, ChatGPT is very good at summarizing and getting you information for easy research, because I typed in one quick thing and I got all the information that I had wanted and needed in just like literally the stroke of one stuff. And they have all the references for you to actually go into. So when you're researching, this is why as a matter of fact, let me get this so just so you can see this. Um, Bear with me one moment. Um, 1 Corinthians 7 verse 31, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away. Basically, the thing here is that you need to be able to make use of certain things. Now, is AI has the potential, or internet and all that stuff have the potential to be evil, wicked, and all that stuff? Absolutely, there are a lot of different things that they do that they did. I made lessons myself on the different things that AI and internet has done. All right, but that doesn't mean that you can't. You can't. But that does not mean you can't get something good out of it. Because I've been able to you make use of AI for some of these lessons and whatnot, and so on and so forth. Sometimes I like to see guess how what's the word, morally corrupt these AI stuff are. And I asked it a bunch of questions and stuff like that. And I'll just say, for example, there's this one thing I searched up on this video game because I was playing this video game. I wasn't paying attention to the story because I didn't care about it. But then when I heard like a bunch of stuff going on, they were there was this one character that the writers are trying to make them seem like a good person, even though they are objectively a bad person. And then the AI was just defending, trying to say this, then, whatnot. But then when I use this world's morality against it, when I say, "Oh, so are you allowed to hurt people? Are you allowed to steal? Are you allowed to do this and the third?" And then when you bring that up, then the AI is like, oh, actually, yeah, you're right. This, that, and the third, because what happens is that you bring things back into the fundamental thing where people are willing to justify certain people's actions because they like them and they want to show favor. But when you remove all that extra stuff and you bring it down to the basis of things such as, is it okay to to punch someone in the face and whatnot, and then they say, okay, you know what? Now I see what you mean, X, Y, and Z, and then they basically have to forfeit. So it's really easy, and that's the thing about AI. The AI, how AI is made, it's not objective. The AI, from what I've seen, it follows the morality of what Babylon thinks is moral. So if I say something like uh I can't, I'm not going to give an example, but whatever. Basically, if you have a conversation with ChatGPT and stuff like that, um it's going to speak in the sense of how this whole liberal type ish is, but when you actually go into and try to like convince it, just like what's all this stuff, like how is this fair, X, Y, and Z, then that's when it's like, okay, well, now I have to, it has to basically forfeit if you know exactly the exact words and questions to ask it to make it realize that the way that it's thinking is in fact wrong. All right, but Slocky, that's just a whole other thing. um as a matter of fact, even this brother um, is an example of that, where, well, not this brother, the brother whose video I took this off of. He basically showed an example where the thing was in the scriptures. It says, Slocky, I'm being so long, but um, basically you were saying, all right, well, let me just continue on. Back to the main thing. Um, he was saying, this dude was saying that the Africans that are in the thing that were taken into slavery, those are Africans, those are not Israelites. That's just wrong. We have evidence. That we showed that the people, the so-called Africans that were taken, their names were Hebrew names. Okay, you go into all this stuff. You go into all this stuff and you see, okay, well, yeah, this is all the things. This is all the Israelites, and I'm not going to read all. I'm for damn sure not going to read all these names, but you can, I guess, if you want to. It looks like, I'll say it looks like, because I'm still like reading some of these and saying like, oh, well, it looks like, yeah, Yah is in the thing, as in, Yahawah. All right, so a part of a part of this thing is that the Israelites were in fact the ones that were taken from the transatlantic slave trade, as was prophesied. On top of that, the Lord did say that this would be for a sign for us to determine that, oh, we are the Israelites, especially after we were cut off from being a nation, as in reference to Psalm 83, I believe, verse 4, okay, where we are in the house of bondage because again, what's it called, book? We were taken into slavery into Egypt, which Egypt is spiritually the house of bondage. And this is how we are in the situation that we're in, because we were disobedient to Yahawadah. And as we were disobedient, the Lord allowed these devils to take us into our captivity, right? So, continuing on, I read this. Micah chapter, oh yes, and I remember. Micah chapter 4, verse 1. But in the last days say, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountain, and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow onto it. And the nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Basically, the thing here is that as soon as the Israelites are brought back into their kingdom, there's not going to be any more war. But who? But we heard. Okay, I'm trying to watch myself, but you see that there's wars, and then there's the correlation to that, and which is impossible. All right, so that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to add more into it. So with that, I praise this was edifying. I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Bear with me one moment. Oh yeah, so in terms of this whole Africanology thing, there is the whole diaspora. Okay, so another thing is salvation. Like, what are people being saved from? Okay, that's a very big thing. We as Israelites need to be saved from our enemies because our own we're not in our own land, we're not in our own thing, but all these other nations are I guess technically these other nations, like the other heathen nations except for Esau, they do kind of need saving from Esau. But the main thing is for us, where we are in our captivity, we are constantly under the boot of Esau, all right, being treated like garbage, treated like second-class citizens, and we never have anything for us, all right. And then even more recently, you have other nations that are constantly being um, subjugated and having stuff stolen from them by Esau. All right, so this is why we as Israelites need salvation, and then when we have salvation, the Lord Yahawashi is going to make things right and put things in its proper order. So with that, I pray this doesn't solidifying. I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto you. Yahawadah, Yahawashi, Hashem, Kwak, Kodash, double honors to the elders and the boss, the great mill, son of Baba, and Shalom.